This is Gooey Louie, and it's a disgustingly good time. Today we're going to be comparing the 1995 Pressman edition of Gooey Louie to the 2023 Goliath edition of Gooey Louie. Let's see what's changed over the course of 30 years. To start, let's have a look at box art. When we're looking at the Pressman edition, we have this bright, robust box art. I love this. This just screams 90s. When we flip it over, we've got some pretty traditional board game fare. We've got some young kids playing the game, having a good time. We've got a few close-up pictures of the playset itself to show how it operates. Nothing really to write home about, but just brilliant, bright colors. Absolutely love this. This screams. Now, another thing that I like about this box is it's a classic flip-top game box, which means that all of the small parts will stay safely stored inside. I have a very soft spot for games that are designed with storage in mind, and I love the fact that it comes with a fantastic carton. So, points to the 1995 Pressman edition. Moving over to the 2023 edition, we've got a nice, robust, bright green cover art, this cartoony little Louie here, but one thing I think everybody notices right out of the gate is how much smaller the box is, and that does take away from its visual impact with that lack of super bright colors. This one seems a little bit more plain by comparison, but I love the cartoon image of Louie on front. I still think it's very eye-catching. I like the choice of the purple for the titling there. And again, when we flip it over, very standard board game fare. We've got a couple kids having a good time playing the game. Some close-up shots of the playset. Nothing to write home about. And the main event, storage. It's a flip-top box. Now, I'm not going to complain about not having enough space to fit such a small playset, but what I will say is it's almost too much space. So I myself held on to this little void fill, this little piece of cardboard that came with the game. Louie's neck actually fits in this little divot here so that when you pack him back up into the game box, it keeps the playset from bouncing around inside and prevents possible damage and wear and tear just from storing your game. So, though I'm not a fan of the flip-top boxes, if you keep the void fill, this still does a serviceable enough job. I recommend with either version, anytime I have small parts like these, like the gooies, I would get like a little Ziploc bag to keep those clean. So if we're comparing the boxes, this one just screams 90s. The 1995 Pressman box really has me with its fold-over clamshell design so that it can keep all the parts safe. So right away, I'm kind of leaning to the 95, but maybe I'm biased. Moving to the actual playset itself, the 1995 Gooey Louie playset, it's got a very nice presence on the table. It's a decent size. You have plenty of clearance to get to his nose. Nice 3D design. It's a mirror image of Louie on both sides. When you're working as far as the mechanical action, you pop open this door here, and this is where you place the gooies for gameplay. There's a small trigger, and you'll see a black rubber band by my finger here. You affix a rubber band to one of the gooies that you load in here and tie it off to this trigger. That's the unlucky gooey that ends the game. If a player pulls that gooey, it triggers Louie's brain to pop out, and the game is over. Now, there are two different rule sets that you can play with the 1995 edition. The quick play rule set is when a player triggers the brain to pop out, that player loses. The remaining players take all of the gooies that they plucked out of Louie's nose, and they line them up end to end. The player with the longest gooey wins the game. If you'd like to play the long form rules, the player who causes the brain to trip, they're out of the game and eliminated. The remaining players restuff Gooey's nose with gooies and continue to play until there's only one player left who has not triggered the brain to pop out of Louie's head. Very simple gameplay mechanic that you can either play for just a couple minutes or drag out amongst several players. So again, lots of fun, not overly complicated. When we get into the playset for the 2023 edition, right away we notice it's quite a bit smaller than the 1995 edition. However, this has, this one has a lot more 3D modeling. This is a much cartoonier rendition of Louie. He's got a big smile. He's got a big swollen nose. He's got two gooey nostrils, very big to see, these huge bulging eyes. So now Gooey Louie here, when we talk about the mechanics, he has a little door in the front of his nose where the gooeys are loaded. Instead of using a rubber band to affix an unlucky gooey to the trigger mechanism that trips his brain launching, all of the gooeys in the modern playset have these little loops in the cast that they're molded into. So you mold from. I don't, terrible grammar. Uh, but you'll select an unlucky gooey and loop it around the trigger mechanism in his nose. And that's what begins the whole roulette game of finding the unlucky one. Now, in the instance of the 2023 edition, not only does Louie's brain pop out, but his eyeballs pop off. You saw one of them come off accidentally earlier. They're not spring loaded, so they just sort of fall off. But when we get into the picking experience here, we got two nostrils. And, that's something we need to look at compared to the 95 years. The 95 has one. Oh, look at that. You get this texture to the gooeys. Yeah, where they stick to each other and they become a little bit tougher to pull out. So you got that little friction where they're all, oh, and there we go. I like that this one squeaks. I love that his brain squeaks when it pops out of the 2023 edition, and that's what I was really hoping to get. So you've got relatively easy access to the gooeys with his two nostrils, albeit what I noticed with this playset is he's very close to the table surface. So trying to get my hands in there, if I was a little kid, it'd be easier. And I mean, yes, this game is geared towards a younger audience, but parents want to play games with their kids too, hopefully. And it should be accessible. So now that we have access to the unlucky gooey, sorry, I love that squeak. Now the rules have changed in the 2023 edition by comparison to the 1995 edition. Instead of just passing around Gooey Louie and pulling out a gooey, well, we've overcomplicated things. I'm willing to bet that you were looking at the table, seeing this die, and thinking, what in the Wizards of the Coast is that? And my friend, this is a six-sided die that we have added to Gooey Louie because, hey, I guess just picking random gooeys and hoping that yours was the winner wasn't good enough. Now, this bothered me even more because this six-sided die did not come pre-printed. I actually had to affix these stickers on it myself. And I don't know if there's a word in the English language for how annoyed I am. And thankfully, I have a nice, robust German audience. And meine Freunde, if you can tell me what the German word is for the disdain one feels for manually applying stickers and decals to a blank six-sided die, please put it in the comments below. I want to keep that in my back pocket for future reference. So, Dankeschön. Thank you for that. Anyway, I had to apply the stickers to this die, which annoyed me to no end. And the stickers include a 1, which instructs you to pluck 1 gooey out of Louie's nose, a 2, which instructs you to pluck 2, an X, which tells you to skip a turn, and a hand, which tells you to steal a gooey from your friend. So not only have we overcomplicated the game, we've added theft. As the church lady would say, isn't that special? I don't see why we need to start stealing boogers from our friends. But hey, if that's the kind of thing we want to promote in this day and age with our board games, we'll go right ahead. So I will deduct some points for the overcomplication to the rules in the 2023 Gooey Louie. Let's get back to this. We want to talk about the picking experience though, because that's where the vintage version really shines. So we talked about 2 nostrils on the 2023 edition. The 1995 edition has 1, and it's small. You have like a 1-inch nostril, maybe 3/4 inch, which means when you have the playset on the table, yeah, you really have to get your finger in there. And the texture of the gooeys, I mean, it takes a little bit of you gotta kind of, you see how this is, there we go. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You see how that was better? That was just a much more robust picking experience. I have to say that overall, if we're going to talk about how it feels to get knuckle deep into one of these Gooey Louie sets and really root around in there and get a feel for what you can pull out of Gooey Louie's nose. The 1995 Pressman edition, I mean, they had the modeling of the gooeys great. You have 3 different lengths, which each individually brings its own flavor to the picking experience. You get one of these long ones that kind of wraps around some of the gooeys and makes for like a nice firm pull, or you get one of these short ones that gives you a robust, crisp pluck. And all of them have this fantastic jiggle. When we compare this to the 20, I mean, there's no there's no contest. There's no contest. Clearly, the superior gooey rests with the 1995 Gooey Louie. That's not to say that these don't have a nice feel. The 2023 gooeys, they have a nice feel. They're a little shinier. They have a bit of a sticky feel. But again, they're so much smaller, and you would credit that to fitting into the small model. But then again, when you add the second nostril, and these nostrils are so generously sized, it's much easier, even with the maquette on the table, to just reach in there, get a good hook. And yeah, I mean, that this one has a really good, that is a nice gooey slide. That was a good pull. That was a good gooey pull. So the 2023 edition does have the opportunity for good gooey pulls, and again, crisp plucks that you might get with one of the shorter gooeys in the 1995. There is enjoyment to be had in the 2023 edition. But I got to say, by shrinking the maquette down, by shrinking the gooeys down, by adding the die, by adding the extra nostril, they've significantly diminished the picking experience that one gets from the classic version here. Now, finally, let's have a look at the rule books. First and foremost, the rules on the Pressman edition, it's a single-sided print. This is fantastic. They knew exactly how simple this game was. And actually, what I love is there's an order form on the bottom where you can get replacement gooeys, which brings up one of my favorite points about the 1995 edition is if somebody ever ordered a replacement gooey, that means that there is somebody out there who has a Gooey Louie set that they've added an expansion pack to, and that warms my heart. Going to the 2023 edition, we have a very nice, colorful, robust, sealed paper print. I do like when they do these full color prints on nice glossy paper. They hold up very well in storage. It's very simple. It's just a one-time fold out. Tells you how to place your stickers on your die. Tells you how to place your own stickers on your die. Can't do that for you. They got to have you do that. So that's, but again, they have the instructions for the game. The updated instructions are very simple. They've just added die to the game. Overall quality of print, I'm going to go ahead and say 2023 does win. Higher quality paper, nice graphic design. This will arguably hold up better. Both of these, the original 95 and the 2023, when originally purchased, were haphazardly just kind of thrown into the box by their respective manufacturers. So presentation-wise, neither one of them is going to edge out. So when it comes right down to it, if we're going to be comparing the box art, the gameplay, the overall picking experience, as it were, I'm going to go ahead and side with the 1995 Pressman edition of Gooey Louie. So if you're looking to get yourself a copy of Gooey Louie, I highly recommend it. The 2023 is more than playable, and honestly, I think this is more suited for a much younger audience. I think you can use the original version of Gooey Louie with a much older audience, and everybody will have a much better time. It requires a little bit more dexterity, a little bit more skill. And as you could see, it was even funny to watch me try to pick that out. I mean, honestly, it's impossible to watch somebody play this game and not smile. So Gooey Louie, do you love it? Have you played it? What are your thoughts? Comment below and let me know.